Hi, I'm Ray Suarez. I'm a journalist and an author, and I've been a reporter for, well, more than 40 years. And one of the big American stories that I've had the opportunity to cover during those decades, since the 1980s, was immigration. I covered the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986, introduced by Congress, signed by Ronald Reagan, which gave amnesty to millions of people who were living and working illegally in the United States. And through the decades since, the 90s, then the turn of the century into the early years of the 21st century, immigration has become a sore spot, an American debate, an argument that really never goes away. And as a reporter, you pay attention to those kinds of things. So when I was looking around for a topic for a new book, I thought, well, what are we fighting about now? Well, people coming here from other places in the world. Things like refugee status, which we used to not argue about a lot. If people were in trouble somewhere on the planet and 20,000 or 30,000 people came because their lives were in danger, America's idea about itself was that those people could come, take shelter, settle here. Sometimes they go back, sometimes they stay and become Americans. And I watched the way we were arguing about immigration change over the decades to become something like a family fight that never ends. And right now, with more than 40 million people living in the United States who were born somewhere else on the planet, with large numbers of people coming in from trouble spots around the globe, I saw these arguments coming to a head in our politics, in our social and economic life, and I thought, that's what I got to write about. And as I talked to people who had come here from Africa, Asia, Latin America, Europe, since we did the last big change in our immigration rules, it got me to thinking about, well, who's an American? And who gets to say who's an American? Because that's one of the things that's really underlying these arguments, these family fights, is, well, if you come here from somewhere else, do you become an American? And are there gatekeepers in our society? Are there people who get to say, well, yes, that person is, because they've done the work. They learned English. They went to school. They got a trade. So that person's an American. Or is that idea that there are gatekeepers still part of the family fight? And I started writing this book around the time of the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. You may remember it. Large groups of young men marching with torches around a statue of Robert E. Lee, chanting, "You will not replace us." And their fear was that the new people, the people coming in from Latin America, from East and South Asia, from Africa, were going to replace them as Americans. Not that they were going to add to the diversity of America. This was not something that they were worried about as a matter of addition. They saw this country as a zero-sum game, that if somebody else gained, they would have to lose. And that made such an impression on me. And that's when I started writing this book. And it really was a long meditation, you might say, on who's an American. And I met these amazing people who had come here from all over the world, and they themselves went on a journey, obviously a literal physical journey from someplace else to here, but also an emotional, a mental, a spiritual journey, because something happens. You are no longer the person you were when you left your native country. You are transformed by the act of living here. You are transformed by the process of becoming an American. So they have been altered by this experience, And yet at the same time, many of their fellow Americans don't give them the credit for having undergone that transformation, of truly becoming American. One question I asked everybody I talked to about their life experience of being an immigrant, toward the end every time, was, okay, are you an American? And the through line, the theme was absolutely, yes. They all said, yes, I am. They all said when they go home, when they can, to where they're from, they don't feel like a part of that place anymore because their life is really here. But also something much more profound had changed. They are really part of us. Their success is our success. And this country's failures are their failures as well. They are part of us in a way that they fully understand, and too many of us now in the 2020s don't appreciate.